The defendant stands accused of theft by overpayment, a form of white-collar misconduct where an employee manipulates payroll or reimbursements to receive more than they are owed. The allegation is simple on paper. 4 transactions made between July and August of 2019, each exceeding legitimate payroll amounts. The total, $7,200, quietly transferred to her personal account. But as in so many human stories, the facts are rarely the full truth. When confronted by investigators, the defendant signed a statement admitting to the overpayment and promising restitution. Yet, in court, she insists the confession was forced, taken under duress. "They locked me in a room," she says. "Wouldn't let me leave, wouldn't let me call anyone. I signed it just to get out." Her voice trembles, her hands shake. But the courtroom does not run on emotion, it runs on evidence. The defendant avoids a formal conviction if she complies with probation terms. Deferred adjudication is often seen as mercy, but in reality, it is a test of endurance. 4 years of supervision, strict reporting, employment restrictions, restitution payments. Any violation could convert the deferral into a full conviction. Yet the defendant's life is far from simple. She explains that she cannot work, citing autoimmune disorders, spinal injuries, and connective tissue disease. She lists dozens of diagnoses, each one blurring into the next. Her words reveal a body in rebellion, and a life held together by threads. A disabled mother who needs her care, a son with mental health struggles, and a home balanced on the edge of collapse. She tells the court she's barely surviving, that she cares for her mother, changes her diapers, drives her to medical appointments. She insists she is not a home healthcare provider, merely a daughter with no choice. But the court, bound by policy, forbids those on probation from providing any form of caregiving for income or dependency. And even unpaid, the judge worries, how can a woman so ill, caring for others, also care for herself? Proper pause. And then comes the statement that defines her case and her life. She repeats it again and again, not as defiance, but as defense. She says she does not trust juries, does not trust the system, does not trust anyone to understand the chaos she's endured. In her mind, the world is broken, and she, its collateral damage. She recalls being overworked and generating a great debate. The tendency to emphasize balance is a complex construct of facts, investing adequate proper functions and balance for what's best for society. 90-hour weeks, she says. Working late nights alone, managing payrolls, operations, and people. She claims exhaustion and confusion clouded everything, that she never intended theft. But in the sterile logic of law, intent is everything. The state argues differently. Their evidence is systematic. Bank transfers into her account. Payroll adjustments made after approval. Discrepancies tied directly to her employee ID. A financial officer, Gregory Martin, testifies that he discovered the irregularities during internal review. Each discrepancy, he says, led straight to her account. The prosecutor emphasizes premeditation, claiming the defendant padded her payroll, deliberately altering records to conceal the theft. It was not accident, they argue. It was design. The defense, however, paints a different picture. A woman overwhelmed by illness, family crises, and mismanagement, trapped in a workplace she describes as a madhouse. A place, she says, where passwords were shared, laptops were left behind, and control was easily lost. She suggests anyone could have accessed her system. Yet to the court, these are words without evidence. As testimony continues, the courtroom feels less like a legal proceeding and more like a public unraveling. The defendant breaks down in tears, describing years of pain, failed surgeries, betrayal by her husband, homelessness, her mother's repeated hospitalizations. Each detail pulls the story further from theft and deeper into tragedy. Block quote. "I just can't chance anything," she says. "I need to be there for my mom. I have no one else." Parentheses. The judge listens, silent, then reminds her that the court cannot operate on emotion, but emotion has already filled the room. In her words, we glimpse the intersection of law and life, where justice must navigate not only evidence, but human fragility. From a legal perspective, the case raises key questions of competency, reliability, and moral culpability. The defendant claims her admission of overpayment was made under coercion. Legally, a confession obtained through duress violates due process. However, absent physical evidence or witnesses to corroborate coercion, the court must rely on written documentation, and the burden of proof shifts heavily against the defendant. Chronic illness and emotional distress may impair judgment, but they do not automatically negate intent. The court must determine whether she knowingly and willfully altered payroll records, or whether confusion and stress rendered her actions negligent but not criminal. The prohibition on caregiving roles reflects a broader legal concern. Those under supervision should not hold positions of fiduciary or physical responsibility. This ensures public safety, but also raises ethical concerns when applied to individuals caring for family. The defendant's lack of income complicates restitution collection. Her reliance on disability benefits may render her effectively judgment-proof, shifting the penalty from financial to supervisory. Through these layers, we see the challenge of justice when compassion meets statute. "I don't trust people enough." Her words echo not just through the courtroom, but through the deeper corridors of trauma. Distrust, in psychological terms, often stems from repeated betrayal, familial, institutional, or personal. For the defendant, each seems present. Her marriage collapsed, her employer accused, her body failed her. And now, the law, the last institution she must face, stands between her and freedom. The legal process, built on adversarial structure, rarely feels safe to those already fragile. In that tension, justice can feel like punishment, even when it seeks rehabilitation. After hours of review and testimony, the judge delivers the decision. 4 years of deferred adjudication. Restitution, $7,200. No employment involving money or caregiving. Mandatory risk and mental health assessments. A balance, perhaps, between mercy and caution. The defendant nods quietly. She says she understands. But understanding and acceptance are not the same. To her, this is not justice. It is survival. The courtroom empties. The echo of her tears lingers long after the gavel falls. Outside, the world continues as usual. A world she no longer trusts. She will return home to her fragile mother, her troubled son, and the shadow of a life she once knew. Every month, she will report to probation, submit documentation, and count the days until her term ends. But in reality, her sentence extends far beyond paper. It exists in the quiet moments of doubt, in the unending fatigue of illness, and in the fear that society will never believe her story. This case, like many in the lower courts, is not about notoriety. It is about humanity under scrutiny. It reminds us that justice must operate not only within the boundaries of law, but also within the reality of human limitation. That every file number carries a life, every restitution order, a story, and every plea, a compromise between truth and fear. In the end, the defendant's greatest statement is not her guilt or her innocence, but her confession of distrust. I don't trust people. Enough. Parentheses. It is both her defense and her sentence. This is not a story of theft. It is a story of survival and a system that asked her to. But in the court of law, evidence is everything. Understanding is the only justice.